recording is started. Excellent, right. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be current or a former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or pathways programs, or you must have substantial relevant presentation experience that you demonstrate in 3 to 5 minute speech delivery during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to board approval. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and often guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording this meeting. Your video audio contribution may be used for our club marketing purposes. Please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. And the theme of the evening tonight is Dare. Please welcome our club president, Nick Lahani, DTM.
Thank you very much, Andre. Welcome, all members and guests. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's meeting. So today is the 24th of May, and we've had a busy month, and we've got a busy end to the month as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you notice that next week is a speechathon. And also we've got a busy June as well, because not only have we got club events, we've got VTM Con as well. And those of you, can you see the backgrounds on the screen? VTM Con, big thing in these part of the woods, okay? So if you're not sure of what it is, then just send a message to Elaine or Pamela or to Lucas or to Jim or to Andre or to Jim or to either of the Jims. One of the things today is just come and have fun. That's why we've come here first. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our Toastmaster of the day. Please give a very warm hand for Lee Sing Zhu.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you, everyone. It's my privilege to serve as the Toastmaster of the day. And this is my first time serving this role. Therefore, I made the theme for today as Dare. To dare is to have the courage to speak our minds, to lead, to dream big, and to experiment with our life, and to be different, to be vulnerable, and to embrace our vulnerability and our imperfection. As a Toastmaster of the day, I encourage and I dare everyone to dare something different, something new, something bold, and something creative, and something revealing the depths of yourself and reflect the value of our Toastmasters, and to make this meeting fun and daring. As usual, our meeting will have 3 segments. The first one will be prepared speech, and the second one will be table topic speeches, and the third one will be the most technical one, which is evaluating process. Even as a first-time Toastmaster, I feel very confident because I have a team of dedicated helpers who will do whatever they can to help me to run this meeting and to make sure we have a great success. It's my responsibility to introduce them. With that, let's begin with our timer. Our timer today is Pamela Benjamin. DTM, Pamela, can you please explain your role?
I will be timer today. At Toastmasters, we time our speeches, we time when we're talking. When our speakers are all, I just checked the event agenda, our speakers are all speaking from 5 to 7. So they will receive the green light at 5. At 6 minutes, they will receive the yellow, and at 7 minutes, they will receive the red, and they need to qualify by 7.5 minutes. When we have our evaluators will get the green light at 2. They will get the yellow at 2.5. They will get the red at 3. And table topics, our impromptu portion, they need to speak to 1 minute. At 1 minute, I give a green light. At the midpoint there, at 1.5, I give the yellow. At 2 minutes, I give the red, and they disqualify at 2 minutes. We practice being on time and starting and getting to at least the minimum and not going over the maximum. Thank you very much. I dare you to stay on time today.
Thank you, Pam. Our aha counter will be Antoinette Trim. Antoinette, can you please explain your role?
As our counter for this meeting, I am responsible for listening to unusual sounds, one-syllable sounds like so, and so forth, as well as unusually long pauses. And when called upon to report, I will do so. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day, Zoom.
Thank you, Antoinette. Our grammarian will be Emily Thompson. Emily, would you please explain your role?
Yes, I surely will. As grammarian, I'm going to make notes of gorgeous gems of grammar and also giant grammar gaffes. In keeping with our theme of dare, the word of the day is embrace, which can be used as either a verb or as a noun. As a verb, one definition means to hug, but another definition means to accept, as in, I embraced the idea that the theme of the day is dare. And it can also be used as a noun, meaning hug. I'll put the word of the day and the definitions in the chat. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Emily. Our watcher will be Lo Brown. Lo, can you please explain your role?
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster, as the watcher, it is my duty to observe and evaluate the visual portion of our program, so critical in today's online world. I will provide a report at the end of the meeting to inform you how wonderful we all look in our cameras. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lo. Our chat monitor will be Jeanette Francois. Jeanette, could you please explain your role?
Yes, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As your chat monitor, I've already embraced what's already going on in the chat, and it's already very delicious, and I can't wait to give you my report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mrs. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jeanette. The last but not the least, our vote counter will be Donna Knight. Donna, would you please explain your role?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, as our speakers of table topics, prepared speeches, and evaluations speak this evening, your job is simply to choose the best of the lot. Send me your account privately in the chat, and I will share with you at the end who is a champion winner of each of these. Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Donna. Now, let's begin our first segment of the meeting, which is prepared speech. Our first speaker will be Roxanne Hossein. Her title is From Tahiti to My Plate for Leadership Development Level 1, Master Fundamental Evaluation and Feedback. Second speech. She will be telling us the story of how Breadfruit, a Jamaica breakfast staple, made its way from Tahiti to her plate. Let's welcome Roxanne Hossein. Roxanne.
Friends, remember Breadfruit? If you were not here when I shared this story the last time and you don't know this fruit, not to worry. Back in April, only Jim, Tricia, and Donna knew what breadfruit was. And yet this fruit is as prolific as that mango you were all chatting about, with hundreds of known varieties grown in 90 countries worldwide. When the Europeans discovered it in the late 1500s, they were both amazed and delighted by it. Who had ever seen such a thing? A starchy fruit that, when roasted in a fire, had both the aroma and texture of freshly baked bread. In Jamaica, breadfruit is comfort food, and adding it to any breakfast table turns it into a feast. A Jamaican would never serve a Sunday morning breakfast without it. The history of this popular Jamaican staple is one steeped in drama. Breadfruit originated in the Indo-Malay region, and it spread throughout the Pacific by voyaging islanders. The story of how breadfruit made its way from the Pacific to the Caribbean is the thing of which movies are made. No, literally, movies have been made. It was by providence, with assistance, that breadfruit came to Jamaica. Although breadfruit did not arrive on the island until 1793, the story begins 22 years earlier. Captain Cook had sailed to Tahiti on the HMS Endeavour, accompanied by Sir Joseph Banks. Seeing the breadfruit as a cheap way to feed the people who were enslaved in the Caribbean, Sir Joseph Banks proposed to King George III that he commission a special expedition to transport the breadfruit plants from Tahiti to the Caribbean. King George commissioned Lieutenant William Bligh to captain the ship to transport the trees. Thus, the stage was set for one of the most notorious mutinies in history, the Mutiny on the Bounty. On the journey to transport the trees to the Caribbean, First Mate Fletcher Christian led a mutiny against Captain Bligh and set him, along with 18 of his loyalists, adrift on the ocean, leaving them for dead. But why? What was the motivation for this? The way Hollywood tells it, it's because Captain Bligh was a tyrant. He was, but is that enough? Or that the mutineers just wanted to stay in Tahiti, which ultimately they did, and their descendants still live in that region today. Even so, is that really enough? What act could Captain Bligh have committed that is so egregious that it would bring Fletcher Christian to hold a bayonet to his head and force him off the ship? The documented truth is this: supplies were scarce and the ship was overcrowded, and Captain Bligh wanted to use the last of the men's drinking water to water the breadfruit saplings. That's right. He valued the life of fruit trees over the lives of men. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The mutineers tossed hundreds of breadfruit plants overboard. Not that it mattered, since they took the bounty back to Tahiti and ultimately burnt it. The movies tell of the courage and the sailing skills of the men left for dead, and the courtroom drama of Captain Bligh's trial for the loss of the bounty and the men for the mutiny. But what you don't see in the movies is that 2 years later, Captain Bligh returned to Tahiti to complete his mission, this time with 2 ships, the HMS Providence and the HMS Assistance. So you see, as I said earlier, it was by Providence with assistance that breadfruit was successfully introduced to the Caribbean. You may have thought that I meant the providence of God with the assistance of man. I guess you can take it both ways. Nonetheless, the mission was regarded as a failure. You'll understand, the people who were enslaved were unfamiliar with it and refused to eat it. Instead, they fed it to the pigs. It would be almost a century before breadfruit becomes the staple that it is today. One might say that again, it was by providence. In one season, the island was hit with 5 severe hurricanes, wiping out the crop, forcing the inhabitants to embrace breadfruit. Before it gets to the table, breadfruit needs to be cooked. In Jamaica, this is traditionally done by roasting over an open wood flame or by cooking on one of these coal pots. This is our Jamaican version of an outdoor kitchen. The process cooking time is 1 hour to 2 hours, depending on the size of the fruit. The one you see here will take about 1 hour. The breadfruit flesh becomes infused with the sweet, savory, smoky flavor of the char. And once the fruit is completely cooled, the charred skin is removed. The fruit is then cut into wedges and enjoyed hot with some salt and butter, or thinly sliced and fried. In other Caribbean islands, instead of roasting, they boil it in coconut milk. But take it from me, baked, roasted, boiled, or fried, there is never a wrong way to eat breadfruit. Come, let's get it to the table. Now I'm salivating. Who knew that a fruit could have such a tale, or that a history lesson could leave you hungry? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Roxanne. That was a very delicious speech. Our second speaker will be David Carr. His title is Getting Started with Toastmasters.org. David will show how to quickly create a club website that looks great and include the agenda management features which familiar by our online presenter members. David has done the hard work of dealing with the Toastmasters brand police, and now that the cease and desist orders have stopped. The result is a set of WordPress design themes that provide us with good starting point. To the extent of 7 to 5 minutes, David will show us how we can tweak and switch between them. Let's welcome David Carr. David, you're muted.
Give me a moment, timer. Today, I am daring myself to see whether in 5 to 7 minutes I can show you the essentials of what it takes to set up a website on the Toastmaster service and make you go away from this meeting as evangelists who will embrace this option and tell everybody why they need to take a closer look at it. So the WordPress for Toastmasters project is what I call the software project, and the website for WordPress for Toastmasters is where you find all the documentation, including some information about the different designs you can choose from. And this is the new default design. I'm trying to go with something that makes a big, strong impression, because I think these days, the first impression people get of your club before they ever come in the door or come into the Zoom meeting is likely to be an online impression. So this is one possible design, but there are others. Nick picked this one with the NASA photo up top that follows you around as you go from page to page of the site. So that's another thing that makes a good, strong impression. You know, a lot of it is what you put into it, of course, and what the personality is of your club and why you are so wonderful and welcoming. We have also given this site a facelift recently, so that's another style that you can choose from. Now I'm going to show you how you create one of these sites from the beginning, pretty much the beginning. If you go to toastmouse.org, now I'm already logged in here and I filled out some of the information. Now I am skipping over the step where if you're brand new to this, any of you could go use the same password that you use to sign up for roles to create a club website here. If you're brand new, you would sign up for the mailing list first and you would verify a few things, but it's pretty quick to set up an account. And from here, we can set up a website. So if we put in the name of the website, we've told it, the system, what our basic schedule is. And we get a little please wait moment here. This should only take a second. Hey, it's behaving for me. How about that? And it tells me that I can go in and finish the site setup here. So this isn't a terribly fabulous looking screen, but it does give me an opportunity to make some basic choices, like how many speakers and evaluators do we have at a typical meeting? I don't know if you can see that, but I can change that number from 3 to 4. And I can change the amount of time that we allowed for table topics. So the idea here is just to give you some basic choices that you can make up front that are going to help you get this club website set up. And I've also said that, yes, we want to include a register guests widget on the front page, like we have on the online presenters site. So I'll show you that in just a moment. So when I click next here, it will give me an opportunity to change my password, which would be particularly important if you just set up a new account and I gave you a random password. And you click new password here, it's going to give you another long random gobbledygook password that is very secure, but it may be too secure for you to remember. So you can change this to something a little easier. And actually it says that that is somewhat strong. So I would want to change, oh, I am skipping a step. I better copy that because on the next screen, I'm gonna have to log in again now that I've changed my password. So it gives me options that I can do for my next step, including editing the home page, which is where I'd like to go. And I'm gonna log in here. I mean, this is just a test user, but all right, so now I'm in the editor. So I'm on the back end of the site and I have this little widget here popping up volunteering to remember that password for me. I'll say yes. That's a program called LastPass that I use. And it's put in. We are southernmost Toastmasters of Key West. We meet every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EDT. Let's put in a little bit of information. I've got that widget up top here. And there's actually a little bit of explanation here about how I can change that featured image that appears at the top of the design. So in WordPress, themes are different sets of templates of overall designs. And it's put in an image drawn from TI approved brand images. But because this is the Key West Club, we'll pick this little southernmost point image to include instead at the top of the site. And I'll update that. And one of the things that depresses me is when I come into these sites months later and it still says, add your custom message here. And they haven't gotten around to customizing anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this lovely lady who spends some time in Key West, and I'm going to put her in here as our featured speaker. So what I did there is I just copied and pasted a YouTube web address into WordPress, and it was smart enough to include the video player. And, you know, I would start to take some of this stuff in, and I would say something special, and I'll update that. And let's look at what we have so far. All right, so now we have this iconic image that would be more appropriate for this Key West Club. We've got Carol's video. We've got the RSVP now widget showing up on the homepage. So that's a good start. And what if we did want to change the whole look of this? So I'm going to click on this customize link up at the top of the screen. And it's going to show me, if I go into themes, it's going to show me some of my alternatives. So this one right here is actually the one that Nick is using for digital communicators. Here's one I'll preview that is an alternative. We can activate and publish that. And there is more customization that I could do if I wasn't out of time. But I hope that this is at least intrigues you enough that you're going to want to find out more. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. That was extremely helpful and informative. Our third speaker will be Trisha Smith. She is working on presentation mastery level 5, demonstrating expertise, leading in your voluntary organization. Her title is My Lead Faculty Position. Trisha Smith is a full-time online faculty member of an educational organization, and also she served in leadership roles. To complete this project, her organization has completed a 360-degree evaluation of her leadership skills. And she created a succession plan for her leadership position, just in case if she would leave the position. That is not true. And at this point, and her speech will reflect on her leadership experience and much more. Let's welcome Trisha Smith. Trisha?
Thank you for giving the details of my speech. I'm just going to go over it. I am going to talk about the leadership skills in my role. And with our club, we do have several people that work in education. So I'd like to clarify what my role is. As you see on the screen, there's different parts of leadership. So you can be in leadership in different organizations. My leadership role is with an educational institution. I just missed my screen here. I'm not sure how to go back. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to move forward. So I wanted to start with good evening, Toastmasters. I'm Trisha Smith. I am going to talk about an evaluation project that I participated with using my work leadership position. I had a choice of volunteering, using a volunteer role or a work role. And because of COVID, I chose my work role because it's something I do every day. I wanted to give you some background on my career path. As you can see, there's a big tooth on this picture here, and I spent 15 years in the dental field. I worked in medical billing, coding, insurance with dental management. I transitioned into the medical field that way and became a certified coder. As some of you may know, I also served with public teaching. So I got to use both of those roles, and it led me into online education with medical billing coding. I've worked at 3 schools in this role. So to tell you more about my role, what is a lead faculty member? We serve students, and everyone who works in the educational organization does serve the students. That is the whole purpose of what we do. So with my leadership role, it's only a part of my full-time position. I'm a full-time instructor, so we have 5-week classes, and within that 5 weeks we have 2 start dates. So over 2 start dates, I have 3 to 4 classes that I teach with about 35 students in each. It can get I can have a lot of students at one time. And the other part of my role is this focus of this speech, which is my leadership role. And that involves all of these things listed here, these tasks. Faculty coaching for the different levels within the program. We have different medical career programs. I teach with medical billing, coding, and insurance. I do course auditing, reviews. I do some retraining, demonstrating, evaluating. I work with curriculum. I work with an administration. And of course, we have all our educational components, our faculty file requirements, and then my regular instructor role. With this evaluation, I presented the documentation to some of my team members. 2 of them have the same role within the same program, lead faculty members, my program director and the associate dean, as well as a couple of regular faculty people, faculty instructors that I work with closely. And these were the different criteria that I was measured on based on each of their evaluations. So this is a compilation of the results that I'm going to share with you. These are the 8 criteria: leadership, communication, interpersonal skills, teamwork, team building, problem solving, motivation, if I can prioritize, and how reliable I am. Here's the scale on the rating that I was measured on based on each of those criteria. 1 would be developing, needs the most improvement, all the way up to exemplary. My average was excels to exemplary. And to me, exemplary, if I were evaluating myself, there has to be room for growth. So some of the criteria, I could say, yes, I'm exemplary. But for the most part, a good round is between 4 and 5 for all of these. With the leadership skills, what does that measure? Do I have a clear sense of purpose, direction, and responsibility to my team? Yes, I do. I'm very devoted, dedicated, I'm respectful, and I'm very professional. Communication skills, those are things, even though I work online, we do communicate. We talk by phone, we do email, we have meetings regularly. Not necessarily face-to-face like an on-site teaching position, at which I have held in the past. I'm open to constructive feedback. I'm very timely with my feedback. All of those things are considered, and staying positive, that's a regular part of my job role. Interpersonal skills. It's a little different doing it online. So gestures, having those meetings where people can see your face and hear your voice and hear the tone of your voice and how you present yourself with correspondence, and all of those have meanings. I show genuine concern for all team members. I'm trustworthy. I contribute individually and as a team member. I'm very big on being respectful. I'm polite. I show good manners, and I work well with others. Teamwork and team building. I do support this. I'm very collaborative and cooperative with all of the projects that I'm involved with. So I agree with how I was evaluated as exemplary. I'm a good example of this. I also believe in our organization's work as one, and I try to use that mindset with everything I do. With problem solving, it is a regular part of every task that I have. It's all about the students and helping them to learn better and in making improvements, whether it's curriculum or whether it's coursework or in the classroom or working with others to understand what their expectations are. I'm an active listener, and I listen to others' ideas and perspectives. I incorporate those things in a collaborative way because it's always good to get different perspectives so you can meet all of the needs. Using the data, information, and facts to provide constructive decisions and solve problems. I'm very motivated. I show interest and enthusiasm in most of the things I do. I like to be a good example of that. I use effective strategies to motivate others, students, and other people I work with. I like to work smarter, not harder, and I'm still working on that. I use good time management. It's a regular part of my job. We have deadlines all the time to meet, whether it's coursework or meetings or projects. I work with other team members, and I help with administrative responsibilities. That leads to, can I prioritize my work? Yes, that's an important thing to do, and teaching students to do this is also really important with time management. We have office hours, so I get to work with students one-on-one in my office hours, as well as faculty with the trainings. I exceed as an instructor, and with my lead role, I'm very confident in it, and I try to excel at everything I do. Am I reliable? Yes, I'm very reliable to a T. I set and honor my milestones, timelines, deadlines. I'm usually ahead on my deadlines and the agenda for the meetings. I'm pretty outspoken with that, and I believe in what I do, so I love what I do, so that's important. I stick to the established and created agenda for the meetings and projects, and I'm respectful of time. Work-life balance is really hard when you work remotely. So that was a struggle, and it's really slowed down with the whole organization during COVID. We had 2 schools, one was on site and one was online. They're in Florida and I'm in Illinois. So when I started, there was a lot of disconnect with the faculty and staff that were on site in terms of really understanding what it was like to work remotely. Now everyone's remote, so that work-life balance has really been refined. So I'm really thankful for those positive changes. I also needed to include a succession plan. So to me, I'm going to continue in this role, and maybe it will change because education is always changing. It's dynamic. So I hope to just keep moving and progressing and have more opportunity. In summary, I've given you information about my leadership role within an organization. It's dynamic, it's a key role to the whole organization, and I'm going to continue to work as one. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. That was a very well structured speech and a lot of exceeding expectations. Congratulations, Tricia.
Thank you.
Madam Timer, can we have a timer's report?
Roxanne spoke for 7 minutes, 27 seconds. David spoke for 7:34, and Tricia spoke for 8:21.
So based on the roll, only Roxanne is within the limit. Is that correct?
That's correct. Only Roxanne was in the limit. 7:27. So right at the edge.
All right. Thank you, Madam Timer. Now we arrived to our most vibrating and daring section, which is table topic speeches. This will be led by our DTM PIG Carol Prehenskin. Carol, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. The most exciting, are you sure? I don't know. I thought that breadfruit was pretty exciting, huh? All right. So what we have is a whole bunch of questions. Who's ready? You ready? All right. First person up. I'm going to read a quote and you get to share with us what you think of it. Embrace the glorious mess that you are. Angela Heath.
Madam Table Topics Master, embrace the glorious mess that I am. That is an interesting question. First of all, I totally disagree with it. I am glorious, but I'm not a mess. So I don't have to worry about that, embracing that. But what I will embrace is that every last one of us here in this audience has something glorious. I'm not the only one. Because we are here, we are people of purpose, we are sharpening our skills, and besides that, we look good. So I would say we all are glorious people of purpose. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Madam Table Topics Master, because I can't see the timer. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Oh, yes, we're not a mess. We are on the ball. That's why we're members of this club. So the second one is simply a very short and sweet quote. Embrace uncertainty. Chris Gould, you're up.
Madam Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guest. Embrace uncertainty. Is there any other way? There is nothing certain. I would like to dare you all to sell everything you own, buy an RV, and live on the road and not know which way you're going to turn, not know what lies around the next corner. It is the most, to have another way of saying the word, bracing. It is the most bracing way to live, that it's like getting a slap on the face, every day, that wakes you up and says, look at the world around you. We did that, but in case you don't know, my husband and I lived in an RV for 14 years with no house, no home other than our motorhome. And the uncertainty is what makes you alive. Embrace the uncertainty, give it a try. Madam Topic Master.
Woohoo! Thank you. All right, next one. This one has an extra word in it. Embrace the journey. Embrace the journey. Birgit, you're up. Woohoo!
There we go. Life is a journey, definitely. And there are multiple ways to take journeys. There is the physical way to take a journey, because I personally love to explore. I like going to places, and interestingly, I like to go there by myself a lot. It's interesting because a lot of times when you're out with friends, everybody has a different agenda of where they want to go. And somebody wants to see every single top 10 or top 5 of the destinations and sites that you are supposed to see in a city. And other people like me like to just experience the vibe and maybe experience 1 or 2 of those top attractions. Because to me, it's more important to really experience the culture. I've done that in Paris. I've done that in Barcelona, which I prefer over Paris, actually. I know that's blasphemous. And it's just a lot of fun to do that. And when you're traveling by yourself, you actually end up talking with a lot of people. And I do have one friend that kind of has the same idea. So we can just split up and get back together for dinner, whatever. The other journey is really more of an emotional and growth journey. And I find that actually in taking these journeys to these different destinations, I learn a lot about myself. I learn a lot about how I handle being by myself, how I am careful with some people. I'm getting a better radar of who to be careful of when I take a journey and who not to be careful of. I got a great tour of Barcelona by someone that we didn't even speak the same language. Literally, I speak English and German. He spoke Spanish and Catalan. My little high school French had to suffice because as a Moroccan, he spoke French. So it's also a journey of self-discovery and really about how to deal with certain situations on your own. So there's the physical journey, there's the journey of self-development, and they really do go hand in hand. And I can't wait for my next destination now that restrictions are being slowly lifted. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Woohoo, wonderful. Yes, we can't wait for that journey either. All right, next one. Embrace your inner lunatic. Lucas Calafel, you're up. Yay!
What an interesting word, lunatic. I think that might at some point qualify to be some kind of a word of the day for Toastmasters meeting. Embrace lunatic. When I think of that, the first thing that comes to my mind is embrace one's creativity in whatever form that comes in, even if you're so precise and so organized. If that's how one expresses their creativity or their lunacy, and I say go for it. Embrace one's strengths, embrace one's weaknesses, and just the combination of all of those things, to me, seems to add up to one's lunatic, their quirks, the things that they do randomly for no reason, the habits that they have, just a variety of things that maybe they do and they couldn't explain it to somebody else. To ask, hey, why do you do this? And they might ask, well, they might say, I don't really know why I do this. It's just part of my lunatic. So with that, I think that gets me at the green. Back to you.
All right. Yes, you are at green. All right. Who's next? This one's a little bit longer in number of words. We must embrace pain and burn it as fuel for our journey. Jim Barber.
Madam Topics Master and our fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guest, Caroline. Wow, these have been some incredible quotations. Embrace the glorious mess. If ever there was a quotation that summed up my life in 2 words, it would be glorious mess. Embrace your inner lunatic. Oh, anybody that knows me knows how appropriate that one is. But this question, this quotation, embrace the pain and use it as fuel for the journey. That one is interesting because I suppose for some people, life without pain is a normal thing, but for many people, they find pain in many different ways. It's part of life. I don't know that it's inevitable, but it is part. And so the thing is, what do you do with that? And I like the idea of using it as fuel on the journey, because it is a journey. We're not going after a particular destination. It's like Jim and Chris did, going on the journey, never knowing exactly where they're going to go, where they're going to get there, but they're enjoying the journey and using the pain as fuel on that journey. That's absolutely brilliant. I wish I had a little bit more time to even think about that before I gave a response, but I gotta tell you, I'm going to ponder on that one a little bit this evening. In the meantime, I think that's a fabulous quotation. I like that. Madam Topics Master.
Well, thank you, Jim. Woohoo! All right, let's see. What's next? Embrace reality by imagination. Surya Vangala, you're up. Surya.
Good day, everyone, and especially Madam Table Topics Master. Embrace imagination through reality. That written hits a chord with me because back about 10 years ago, even before virtual reality was a game that we see in hands of young kids, back 10 years ago, when we were doing clinical research in the psychotic or psychotic anxieties arena, one of the things that our programmers were working with was to explain this concept of a psychiatric break or a psychosis to all the doctors and the pharmacists. So what we came up with is creating the imaginative reality or reality as imagination as a visual item in which we created one of those goggles you would put around your head, and you would see a person who was schizophrenic and would have that user experience as they were walking in a pharmacist or a grocery store approaching a pharmacy, and all these voices coming from different directions, all the visual images coming from different directions. So that was a case of what comes to mind as I'm thinking, Carol, about your topic. Is it imagination? Is it reality? For us who live in a different world, it could be called imagination, but it is the reality of a patient who's having a psychotic break. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Well, thank you. Woohoo! I love these perspectives. I think I got time for one more. So let's go. Embrace the current season of your life. Jim Gould.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Embrace. Say that again.
Embrace the current season of your life.
Embrace the current season of my life. It's springtime and we're going into summertime. And I'm not sure what that means as far as where it is in my life, but I know that I'm embracing the prospect of travel. And it's something that we didn't do for a little while because of this COVID. And I'm so looking forward to getting on the road. We're traveling from South Florida up to Wyoming. We've been there before. There are cool places up that way and some very hot places. Some of the places we like to go are hot springs, so we'll embrace some of that. That sounds like fun to me. Thermopolis on the 4th of July, or maybe Gillette, Wyoming. Maybe we'll see Devil's Tower and maybe watch the movie that they have there. Does anybody remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind? They play that movie every night at the KOA. It's pretty cool. There are a lot of places to go in this world, and I embrace every season. Well, maybe not winter so much. Madam Table Topics Master.
Woohoo! Wonderful. So we had 7 speakers today. We had Angela talking about her glorious, not a mess, glorious life. Chris Gould talking about the uncertainty of life on the road. Birgit talked about her journeys, plural. Lucas, he loved the lunatic idea. Jim had the burn it as fuel, and he kept focusing on certain aspects of the quotation. Jim talked about the current seasons of his life, and Surya talked about imagination and virtual reality. Please vote for your top voter, top speaker, and send it off to Donna as vote counter.
Madam Topics Master, our vote counter is going to run a poll after the evaluators have spoken.
Oh, how exciting. And we also need to double check that everybody was in time. So please hold for the vote counter. Back to you, Mr. Who am I sending it to? Mr. Toastmaster?
Madam Toastmaster Leasing.
Madam Toastmaster. Oops, sorry.
Thank
Madam
you,
Toastmaster.
Madam Topic Master. That was a very daring and incisive set of questions and speeches. Well done, everyone. Madam Timer, would I have a timer's report to see if everyone qualifies?
I'm also putting them in the chat right now. Everyone qualified except for Angela. She almost got to 1 minute. 52 seconds. So everyone qualified, and I'll put all of theirs in the chat.
Thank you. Now let's begin our evaluation process. This will be led by Andriy Smolenko. Andriy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the evening. Listen, well, it's the third part of the evening. In my view, it's the most exciting part of the evening. Prepared speeches, yes, it was brilliant. Table topics, yes, it was brilliant. However, evaluation is what really makes us learn and grow. And with that in mind, my role today is introduce 3 brilliant evaluators to 3 brilliant speakers. Then we'll move on to the reports of all the helpers, without whose help this meeting is just unimaginable. So stay with me and enjoy the journey. Perhaps you can learn a thing or two from our evaluators. What I would like to encourage us to do this evening, after the evaluator's speech, please put a few comments into the chat to evaluate the evaluator. Use your chance and do it. Few brief messages to evaluators. Let's start with our first evaluator, and it's Graham Carnes, who will be evaluating first speaker, Roxanne Hossein. Graham Carr, please take it away.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and particularly thank you to Roxanne. Again, this was an excellent story. Some really great use of technology, but also of the art of public speaking. There were some even better gestures. For example, when she spoke about the aroma or it being a comfort food, them being set adrift on the ocean, the bayonet to the head. The backgrounds, the videos, I found them engaging and informative. So congratulations on all of those. I was very happy to see, by the way, Roxanne, that you had taken some of my last evaluation into account, adding some more somber parts, for example, to the presentation and reining in the unbridled cheerfulness. I also like the addition of a bit more historical information about how breadfruit went from being pig food to being a breakfast staple. Well done on all of those. I have to give you some suggestions because I have to give you some suggestions. Otherwise, there is no point in you getting an evaluation. There's not a lot that I can offer except perhaps you might change around the providence and assistance duo where you spoke about from providence with assistance. If you had first spoken about the providence of God and the assistance of man, but also the providence, the ship, and the assistance, the ship, that gives us more of a twist and lets you then get back into it again, which you did just a moment later. One other suggestion I would make refers to timing. You added some links to the earlier chat at the start of the meeting, our discussion of mangoes and things like that. And that's great in most presentations, except that you added about an extra 20 seconds, which puts you perilously close to running out of time. Now, in a normal presentation wouldn't matter, but in a club competition, for example, then you would have been very close to being disqualified. But let's look at the flip side of that. You've obviously got so much extra information that you could put in. I'd like you to add some of the information which you took out of your last speech, put it back into this one and turn it into a keynote. Add a discussion of how this became an issue for you, the discussion that you were having with a friend from South Africa and how there are different sorts of breadfruit. You could make this into a keynote that would keep us fascinated for 20 minutes without the slightest bit of doubt. The use of language was pitched at just the right level for an international and multicultural audience. An oral story was painted with the voice. And I want to point out to everybody how well the voice was used to paint a picture. I work in radio. My voice is what I use. And this was a masterclass in how to do that. So well done. The highlight for me, though, was the way that Roxanne included the suggestions from last time. It was a great example of how this project should be done. And I am quite frankly honored that you took my ideas and you turned them into something even better than I could have imagined. It was a presentation that was both fun and fascinating. And if you'll excuse the really bad pun, it left me hungry for more. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Graham Carnes. It left me hungry for more as well. And Graham Carnes just gave his evaluation to Roxanne Hossein speech. The second evaluator I would like to invite to the stage is Marianne Grady, who will be evaluating speaker number 2, David Carr. Marianne Grady, take it away. I think you're...
Sorry about that. Good evening, everybody, and good evening, David. Tonight, David, in his speech, getting started with Toastmasters.org, was able to open our eyes to WordPress version of a Toastmaster website. And he's working on the Understanding Vocal Variety project in the humorously speaking path. David told me it would be a how-to speech with a little bit of humor added, and that was a good description because the light humor was a terrific way to make what could be a dry topic for a non-tech person like me more engaging. He did an excellent job at teaching us how easy it is to use the Toastmasters.org site. He told us about that it's very intuitive, so it makes me want to try it, and giving us visuals to help us understand what he was talking about. This project, though, was Understanding Vocal Variety, and I did not feel that you used vocal variety to enhance your speech this evening. Some missed opportunities for vocal variety could have been quickening or chopping your speech and raising your voice to show your enthusiasm. So like an example would be like, "You've got to see this," and slowing it down at times, almost to a whisper to draw people in, and saying something like, "Toastmasters.org is the best kept secret on the web." I also would suggest that you watch your weakener words because you're a spokesperson for this site. So an example would be, "Because I think this would be a good way," and you should make it, "This would be a good way." When you say this, I think you add more credibility when you shorten it up. Timing was also an issue, and you told me that you already cut a big portion out. And as speakers, we need to be mindful of our time and stick to our allotment. And I believe you do want to give this speech at other clubs. So you will need to nail the timing so you don't throw off all the agendas of the clubs that you plan to visit. But in the end, David, your speech did whet my appetite and left me wanting to know more. And I don't mean that you didn't give enough info, but a topic like this, you would need a full training. But you showed me enough features and functionality that are not currently available in the free Toast. And I have every intention of embracing this new website for one of my other clubs. Thank you, David, for this speech and for the amazing tool that you have developed, not just for our club, but for Toastmasters around the globe who want to raise the bar. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Marianne. What a wonderful evaluation, a quite technical subjects of websites. I remind you that you get a chance right now to evaluate the evaluator. If you feel the evaluator could have done even better than they did, put your comments in the chat box for all 2 evaluators so far. And the third, but not the least, evaluator for this evening is Richard Durling, evaluating speaker number 3, Trisha Smith. Richard Durling, please take it away.
Good evening, online presenters, and especially Trisha Smith. Tricia, I have a number of things I want to talk to you about, and I'm inviting everybody to listen in as we talk through some of the things in your speech. You did some really good things. Your voice, it was strong. It was clear. I had no trouble understanding your words. You did a very good job in that space. You also did something that I think is really a good technique scattered throughout a speech. And in this case, what I'm talking about is you did use some words that were a little less frequently used. And you did work into the speech some definitions of that. It was a very natural act, something I actually had to listen for, but I did observe it, and I compliment you on using that technique. There are other things that you did extremely well. I really like the organization overall, but there are a number of comments that I want to make that may help you with this kind of a speech or just in general using slides in the future. Let's start with the very first slide. I like the way you introduced how your career moved through to the position of being in the role that you profiled. But what would have made that slide just a little bit better is to put arrows connecting the various photos together, because I wasn't sure the order of what I should be looking at there. And the arrows, just a tiny arrow showing the progression, would have made that very clear to me. Now, a really critical one in my mind is always using slides to not as what you're going to say so much, but as support material. And you ran into a problem with timing because I think you had just too much material. So here's 2 suggestions. My first suggestion is, I don't think we needed to hear all 8 of the items that you got reviewed on. You could have potentially picked 3 or 4 of them and focused on them. I think that would have helped both with the timing of the speech, and it also would have allowed you to slow the pace down a little bit, which would make it a far more cognizant speech for everybody who was listening. A small thing also to consider is leave the descriptions of what you're talking about off entirely and focus only on having a couple of items on there that you just in general talk to. That way you make the slides that much more simple. Made a number of small suggestions here. A big one that's really big on my heart. I recognize we're an online club, but I really do believe standing shows confidence. And even if you don't feel it, you project to the audience a level of confidence because you are standing to give your speech. So give some consideration as something as a stretch goal. Try that out on your next speech. I think you'll find it's quite useful. Overall, liked your speech, some ideas for you to improve on, some things to try out. I look forward to hearing to you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. What insightful evaluation that was. And we're moving on. I would like to ask our timer, Pamela Benjamin, about your timing reports for evaluators. Has everyone qualified?
Everyone qualified.
Well, excellent. So we have all 3 evaluators qualified for voting, and you will get a chance to vote for the best evaluator in the end of the meeting. So please keep those 2 great evaluators in mind. First evaluator, Graham Carnes. Second, Marian Grady. Third, Richard Durling. And next part of the evening, again, exciting, is getting more and more exciting as we're getting near to the end of the evening. I'm going to ask a few helpers without whom this meeting is just unthinkable to give their short, concise reports. Please keep it up to 1 minute. The first helper I would like to ask to share their thoughts is our accountant, Antoinette Trim. Please give it away.
Very brief. Both Toastmasters, Roxanne and David, they had no clutch words. However, Toastmaster Tricia, she had in excess of 3 R's and 3 so's. None of the table topics personnel had any clutch words, and also the evaluators, they didn't have any clutch words either. Just one error though, Bridget had 1 R of the table topics. We are a professional club, and I think that we did very well with the clutch words and all those clutch words. Back to you, General Evaluator Andrea.
Oh, thank you very much, Antoinette. What concise reports and straight to the point with our contact. The second helper I'm going to ask to share their views is grammarian Emily Thompson. Please.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Tonight's theme was dare, and the word of the day was embrace, which was a tremendous and terrific word. It was used many, many times, especially by our table topics leader, Carol Prahinsky, and many others also used it. We had some wonderful uses of words, including the pun by Roxanne, by Providence with assistance, and the good vocabulary word egregious. When, let's see, we had all the uses of the word embrace by our table topics leader, embrace your inner lunatic, embrace the pain and use it to fuel for your journey, and so on. There were 7 uses of that. Graham had an interesting use of, in describing the attitude of the speaker 1 as having unbridled cheerfulness, which seems like a wonderful way to be, actually. And Marianne had an interesting way of describing words that diminish the power of a sentence as weakener words. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Emily, for your grammarian reports. We learned a few things from that. And we're moving on to our watcher. And watcher is a very, very interesting role in our club. Someone who watches. Lou Brown, please tell us more.
Thank you, Mr. GE. First of all, special shout out to Roxanne, who provided an amazing visual experience in so many ways. I really, especially like the weather person approach. Now, most folks have great facial placement, always front and center. A few folks, though, are dangerously close to the borders, especially the nameplate area. So please adjust your laptops accordingly. The solid or the minimalist backgrounds are ideal. Some folks have what I call distracting backgrounds. Please embrace the use of a virtual background, such as the awesome VTM Con one that I have here. Now, lighting can be tricky even if you have lights. Some folks are on the bright side, others on the dark. Here's one way to help with that. Go to your video settings. See the item that says adjust for low light. Now, of course, this would help if your light is too low. Change it to manual and move the slider left or right accordingly. I've used that a few times myself. It's been very helpful. Back to you, Mr. GE.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washer Lou Brown. Again, what's insightful things to think about. And the next helper I'm going to ask share the report is chat monitor, Jeanette Francois. Please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I must say that on the chat today was very delicious and refreshing. We talked about mangoes. We talked about ice cream, the different places where we can go and get ice cream, different types of ice cream, mango ice cream and nutty coconut ice cream. And we also got a lesson in the Jamaican patois, and I'm trying to say it, me no drink cafe tea mango time at the height of the mango crop, wash your pot, turn them down mango time. So it's very interesting. We got that Jamaican patois going and it was wonderful. Let's have some ice cream afterwards. So back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. What a brilliant report from Chat Monitor. And next, I would like to ask for some assistance from our club presidents about the voters report. How are we going to do it?
Our vote counter is going to display the questions right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please choose your preferred table topic speaker and your preferred evaluator. The poll is there. We have, thank you so much. These are the people who have qualified according to time. Thank you.
If we lost the poll, how do we get it back?
If you haven't voted, it'll still be there, just the Alt tab.
On the iPad?
Ooh, that I can't help you. Yeah. Evil
crap.
Empire stuff.
Okay. All right.
And we
Sorry.
have 5 more to go. Thank you. I dare you to finish in the next 2 seconds. Embrace the technology, ladies and gentlemen. We have 4 more to go. Mr. Timer, Mr. Sergeant at Arms, you know, yes, we have 3 more to go. And we will take it that those 3 people are not choosing their preferred table topic speaker. And therefore, it's my pleasure to say that our winner of the prepared speech, Toastmaster Roxanne, please have some breadfruit ready for us as soon as we're open up for our table topics, our preferred speaker. Oh, we have a tie. Yes, we do have a tie. Congratulations to Toastmaster Gold, and I'm going to mispronounce this, my sincerest apologies, Surya. And your preferred evaluator. Wow. Toastmasters, it is an evening of tie. Congratulations, Toastmaster Keynes and Grady. Congratulations, continue to be our preferred Toastmasters. Over to you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much, Madam Waltz-Cantor. And it was brilliant, energetic, exciting evening working as the clock. It's what I enjoy with online presenters. Things to share, things to learn. Listening to brilliant Toastmaster of the evening. Congratulations. I enjoyed the meeting. I hope you did too. Back to you, Mr. President. Yes.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody. I have 15 seconds to finish the meeting. What I'd like to say is don't forget next week's speechathon. We have space for speeches and evaluators. It's going to be one after another. And we're not going to stop until we get all 5 or 6 speakers and evaluators done. It is 9 p.m. Eastern, it's 2 a.m. here in Manchester in England. It's time for the after party. I'm going to close the meeting. I'm going to say hello to a guest after we stop recording. So we're going to stop recording. See you next week.